Hey, what's up everybody? I'm SuperSonicJB and happy Sonic the Hedgehog movie release day. Or we just say in France, happy Valentine's Day, also known as Waifu / Husbando Appreciation Day. Yep, this is the day where I open up my cabinet and admire my collection of waifu figurines. I mean, just look at Cranidos back there. Isn't he cute? Now you're probably wondering to yourself, SuperSonicJB, what's under Rem's tits right here? Well, behold, ladies and gentlemen, a flying thingy. I've always wanted to fly one day, but since us humans aren't born with actual wings, this is the closest thing to flying I could accomplish. Anyways, let's go outside and try out my flying thingy to see how far I can fly. Alright, plane, fly! Well, I guess that dream is dead. But don't worry, I have a backup plan. Since it is still Valentine's Day, and I still want to try flying, I guess I could always play the game if my heart had wings. Actually, if my heart had actual wings, I'd probably be dead right now. Valentine's Day. A day where lovers give out flowers and chocolates to each other. It's also the day when weebs question how much money they spent on a figurine of their waifu. I spent how much on this shit? Valentine's Day is finally here again, meaning that it's time to talk about dating sims and or visual novels. Over the last few years, I've become a pretty big fan of visual novels. I guess after playing through DDLC, I learned to appreciate games with a lot of words in a text box. Recently, there's been tons and tons of visual novels released, and most of them revolve around dating mechanics. Why go out with a real person when you got a 2D waifu with big boobs on your screen instead? Honestly, there's a pretty good amount of good dating sims out there, but there's also plenty of bad ones out there. I mean, I always have clips of Tokyo School Life in these videos, but I never actually reviewed it because it has such a crappy ending, as well as some cringy scenes everywhere. But for this year, I thought I'd review a visual novel that I wasn't very familiar with, called If My Heart Had Wings. Also known as Kona Uzara ni Tsuba wo Hirogeti. At least I think that's how it's pronounced. This is a visual novel dating sim that was released in 2012 in Japan and 2013 worldwide, but then got ported to other systems like the PS3, PSP, and even the Nintendo Switch later on, with its newest re-release being in 2019. The game revolves around a young guy moving back to his childhood hometown and becoming a housekeeper for an all-girls dorm. He also meets a disabled girl and joins a club whose sole purpose is to fly high in the sky using a glider. From what I heard, it's a pretty decent game, so I decided to check it out and make this review, so let's take a look at If My Heart Had Wings. Also, I'm playing the Switch version, and I bought a physical copy of it, even though it was way more cheaper to get it digitally, but you know, physical games are superior. Alright, enough, let's start the review. So that's how you pronounce it. So this game starts off with some boring dialogue about cycling, but who cares about that? I want to see some hot anime chicks. I want to see planes fly. Yeah, I want to see some planes fly in the sky, yeah! So our main character has moved back to his childhood hometown called Kazegaru after being away for 5 years, and since he's been gone, his hometown now has a ton of wind turbines everywhere. So our main character is named Aoi. Wait, Aoi? And he has come back to Kazegaru to go to school and start his new job. He then ends up seeing a paper airplane fly by and manages to catch it. But before he has a chance to take a good look at it, it blows out of his hands and goes uphill. He then climbs the hill and finds a girl in a wheelchair at the very top of the hill. Yeah, it turns out this girl has a flat tire on her wheelchair and it's been stranded here for a little bit now. And she threw the paper airplane down the hill, hoping somebody would read it and come help her. Before we have a chance to look at the wheelchair though, we hear a chicken say quack quack. I'm no animal expert, but I'm pretty sure a chicken doesn't say quack. Oh my gosh, this fake chicken's got a cool hat! So this duck is named Hattie. Wow, how fitting. And he's basically this girl's pet. He kinda reminds me of Panther Bell from Princess Evangel. Do all these romantic visual novels need an animal with a hat or something? Anyways, Aoi ends up putting the girl on the grass and gets to repairing her flat tire. Holy crap, we actually get to see his face? I didn't think it was possible for a visual novel to do that! And as he's fixing her wheel, they both end up seeing a glider flying high above in the sky, and they get mesmerized by it. And as it flies away, he finally fixes her wheel, and the two of them go to the nearest town, where they say their goodbyes and thank yous. Later, Aoi goes to his new home, and it turns out his new home is a dormitory. The same dormitory he thought belonged to an evil witch when he was a kid. When he enters the dorm, he finds a girl who is very lightly dressed inside. That's right girl, door-to-door sales are the worst! Then a few more other girls come out of nowhere and start screaming that there's a man here. Yeah, it turns out this is an all-girls dormitory, and Aoi's mother signed him up here to work as her house mother. Or house father in this case. Aoi does end up explaining everything to them, and they eventually accept him. I don't know why, but the chick with the glasses here Kinda reminds me of the teacher from Data Live.
Daddy gets so protective, but I think he'll like you.
Also, yeah, all these girls are going to school with Aoi, and they're all in different grades. Then we hear some shouting, and end up seeing the wheelchair girl from earlier running after Hattie because he took her panties. That duck knows exactly what he's doing. She finally notices us and asks us why we're here, and she sadly doesn't seem too happy to see us. Turns out her name is Katori. Oh wow, now we have 2 characters from Data Live? I hope we meet a Kurumi next. She then starts acting like a tsundere towards me and asks me to forget about what happened between us earlier on that hill. And then she mentions that she's known for a cruel allure. What is that horrible grammar? Oh, she meant allure. That makes more sense. And I'm still gonna call her Miss Cool Alul. So anyways, Aoi's new job here at the dormitory involves him doing the cooking and cleaning. He does try to cook some meals, but the only one who seems to like his cooking is a girl named Kanako. He finally ends up going to school and reunites with his childhood friend Agaha, as well as Masa. I gotta admit, I like Agaha. She's pretty cool and funny.
Yeah, boy.
Also, this classroom looks so cool. I get this is a high-tech school and everything, but it still looks amazing. We also find out that Katori has been missing classes due to being sick. Well, Miss Cool Alul looked fine to me this morning. After class, Aoi goes for a walk and tries to decide what club he wants to join. Eventually, he goes inside his building where he meets a strange girl who is working on a blueprint. She barely even notices him since she's that focused on her work. She does nearly collapse from lack of food, but Aoi gives her some food. Then she immediately goes back to her work and ignores him again. Wow, girl. Wow. Now, before I continue talking about the game's story, I got a few other things I want to talk about. For one, I have to mention this game's English translation is not that good. There's a pretty good amount of typos scattered throughout the game, and it's honestly kind of annoying. Look at this line of text right here! Would you be able to give me hand? That sounds kinda inappropriate, Katori. And come on, this game is clearly a family-friendly game, right? I'm gonna choose to ignore that. And then there's another typo that says, it looked like girl! Okay, that's it. I'm calling the grammar police.
Freeze! You're under arrest for using the wrong there!
Now, apparently the official game's translation was so bad for this game that a group of fans worked together and improved it. If fans can do better at localizing a game, then there's definitely some issues with the localization team working on this game. Another thing I want to talk about is the game's music. And I gotta say, I really like it a lot. If I'm being honest, this might be one of the best visual novel soundtracks I've heard in a while. I mean, just listen to some of these tunes. Like, wow, the music here is just so amazing and makes you feel really happy. I also really like the game's graphics and art style. It looks great! And since I'm playing the most recent re-release of this game, that means the graphics are at its best here. Also, yeah, this game does have its fair share of loading screens, and they are a tad slow, but they're not that annoying. They also have this quote on them that always states, "Extend their little wings, which fly in the sky highly." Dang, even that sounds like poor grammar. Also, these loading screens are so basic looking. Heck, I could make one of my own, like... I also want to mention this weird looking flashback transition. Every time Aoi's having anime flashback, the screen becomes super blurry and zooms into the top pixel at the corner, and then it zooms out when the flashback starts. And then it does the exact same thing when the flashback ends. It just looks really weird and I wish it didn't exist in this game. Alright, let's go back to talking about the game's story, shall we? Aoi ends up finding Katori's notebook, which contains her bucket list on it, and he also finds a withdrawal notice, which hints at Katori wanting to drop out of school for some reason, but more on that later. We also reunite with our old friend Tatsuya, and this guy looks like a male model. I mean, when he comes inside the dormitory, all the girls pretty much fawn over him. Man, I wish I was that lucky. We also meet Agaha's younger sister, Hotaro. Huh, she looks different from how I remember her. The next day at school, we revisit the strange girl working on the glider blueprint, and find out her name is Amane.
Ame no Uzume!
And she's been going to school for many years now. She's also considered a genius by many people around the school. She also gives us a very boring long speech about planes, gliders, and flying, but I didn't give a crap enough to actually read any of that. But hey, look on the bright side. At least her long, boring speech helped me catch up on some sleep. Also, I just want to say, this scene with her eating makes me feel very uncomfortable. She runs a sorting club, but turns out she's the only member of said club, and the student council wants to shut the club down because of lack of club members, as well as the fact that many other clubs want to use the garage that Amane uses for the sorting club. Aoi and Agaha do end up joining the club, but since the club needs 4 members to continue, they try to convince different people around the school to join them, but nobody wants to. Their only hope is Katori, who says she doesn't want to join the club because, you know, she's a tsundere. So Aoi and Agaha come up with an idea to help Katori finish her bucket list so that they can become better friends with her and they can hopefully convince her to join the soaring club. But then Katori gets into an argument with Agaha and it kinda ruins our plans. Later at night, Katori goes missing, but Aoi manages to find her down by the beach. She tells him more about her past and reveals the reason why she's in a wheelchair is because she got in an accident while on vacation. She also tells us the reason why she wants to drop out of school is because she always felt like she was a burden to everyone around her because of her injury. Aoi also tells her about his past, which involved him trying to get a scholarship as a cyclist, but one day while riding his bike down a large hill during a competition, he crashed and severely hurt his leg. He had to get surgery done on his leg, but eventually he recovered, but he never went back to cycling after that. Katori is touched by his story, and the two of us finally become good friends. Katori also finally joins the soaring club and makes up with Agaha. Heck, Aoi even karate chops Katori in the head for acting like a tsundere. Finally, a tsundere getting punished for being a brat! We also learned that the notebook Katori has belonged to an old friend of Amane's named Itsuka. Okay, for real, there's a lot of names from Data Live in this game. Come on, game, where the heck's my Kurumi at? Also, this is random, but I love this scene where everyone says, "What's up?" to each other, because it reminds me of that scene from Scary Movie.
What's up?
Also, Aoi volunteers to become the pilot for the glider, so over the next few weeks, Amane teaches us how to fly using a flight simulation game. Meanwhile, Katori and Agaha work on trying to build new wings for the glider. Oh hey, I didn't know Amane was a huge fan of cutlets. I bet she'd get along great with the cutlets guy from Sakura Wars. Also, at this point in the game, we finally get to start making some decisions that'll lead us to dating one of the girls. Personally, I think Agaha is my favorite because her humor is just so amazing, and I just love her facial expressions so much. Plus, she's just got a real awesome personality, so I'm leaning on doing her out.
胸が一番汗かくんだもん。これって女らしいってことじゃない？
Now, I'm not a simp, but I am a man of culture, so yes, ma'am, I would like to see. You know, for research purposes. Oh crap, the horny police at my door again! So then this jerk of a teacher tries to make Agaha quit the soaring club so that she can solely focus on her other club, the robotics club. And this does lead to Agaha not being in some of the club meetings, but she ends up quitting the robotics club midsummer after they lost their competition. She also says a naughty word right here, which is very inappropriate for my eroge game. Come on, kids could be playing this! We also find out that Amane has been staying at the school for the last few weeks, so Aoi invites her to stay at the dormitory during the summer. Agaha also ends up staying with us at the dormitory, and we also continue working on the glider throughout the summer. Our goal is to finish it before summer is over, because Amane plans to drop out of the soaring club around this time because she promised the teachers she'd leave the club when she graduates, which is just around the corner. Thankfully, with the whole crew back together, we'll be able to finish this glider in no time. We also get some fan servicey scenes with the girls taking a bath together and talking about their boobs. We also find out that Amane and Mr. Handsome Tatsuya here were old friends back when they went to school together here. Heck, he even used to be a member of the soaring club, which is pretty cool. We also find a perfect spot to have a runway for the glider, and gather a bunch of people together to help fix it up. Huh, I've never heard someone say waffling before. Does that involve actual waffles or something? But anyways, after a few weeks, we finally finished building the glider and bring it to the runway to do some test flights. Aoi and Amane get into the glider and fly around the town, and it's honestly a pretty cool sequence of events. Though the CGI cutscenes that are shown off here don't really look that great. I mean, it still looks better than some of the recent Marvel movies CGI, but who am I to judge? We also see these two twin girls at the top of a hill who appeared in a few other cutscenes in this game, but more on them later. They look like girl! What's that, Aoi? You can see Katori and Agaha down there? I don't see anything. Did they transform into grass or something?
Katori? Agaha? Is that you?
After a few more test flights, Katori asks if she can ride next. And when we finally get her inside the glider, the winch unfortunately breaks down. So unfortunately, she cannot fly yet. So while they wait for the wind to get fixed, they decide to enjoy more summer vacation by going to the beach.
Oh no, we're entering the beach arc, which means cheap fan service!
Yeah, I'm not really the biggest fan of beach episodes in anime or in video games. They always felt like cheap, lame fan service.
But hey, it could be worse, at least it's not a hot spring scene. Please tell me there's no hot spring scenes in this game.
何これ硬い
Excuse me?
Anyways, after the beach fiasco, we end up having a going away party for Amane, since she'll be leaving the club and graduating soon. We light some firecrackers, eat tons of awesome food, and even invite all the other side characters over. And I gotta say, the characters in this game are all really great, and I honestly love all their designs. Anyone can look at this cast of characters and say, holy crap, is this Persona 6? I especially love some of the facial expressions they make. Like this one, where they look disgusted at me. No, girls, that was not an issue of Tentacles Monthly you saw under my bed. So, Aoi, Katori, and Agaha end up asking Mr. Handsome Tatsuya more about who Amane's friend Itsuka was and what happened to her. Apparently she was involved in a glider accident years ago, but Tatsuya and Amane were away that summer, so they never witnessed the accident. And even though they saw the wrecked glider, they never found Itsuka's body, and nobody even really told them what actually happened. Heck, there might even be a chance he's still alive out there and just left town, but it's highly unlikely. Now, at this point in the game, we start to make even more decisions, so we're gonna unlock a specific character's route. Now, originally my goal was to romance Hattie, but unfortunately he doesn't have a route, so I guess I'm stuck with romancing Agaha. I hate Tsundere, so sorry Katori. Unless your name's Rintosuka, I don't like you. So yeah, my goal is to romance Agaha, because if a girl looks at me like this, then you know she's interested in me. Or maybe she finds me repulsive. I don't know, I'm not a romance guy. See? What'd I tell ya? Anyways, Tatsuya tells us that the people he called up have fixed the winch, so the next day we get to fly in the glider, and the weather is in perfect conditions to do it. So the next day we finally get to fly again, and now that the weather conditions are perfect, the gang has a pretty high chance of seeing the morning glory, which is a bunch of clouds located high up in the sky, and they form this amazing pattern, but it's very rare to see. Apparently Katori found a picture of this morning glory in a notebook one day, and when she shows everyone it, Amane mentions that it was Itsuka's dream to witness it. So now she wants to fly up and witness the morning glory in Itsuka's honor. So Aoi and Amane fly around for a bit, and we even get to see Girl A and Girl B again in some scenes. But then, just as we're about to go inside the morning glory, the glider starts falling, and we nearly crash and die. But thankfully Aoi's piloting skills saved our lives. Yeah, it turns out they were caught in a strong downwards draft, and that led to them nearly falling to their death. Thankfully, they're both okay, but they unfortunately didn't get to see the inside of the morning glory. No, they just got to see the outside of it, and Amane took a photo of it. So now summer has finally ended, which means it's time for Amane to lead a soaring club, since she's finally graduating. She says that she's happy though, because she did get to fly and make new friends. And she did get to see the outside of the morning glory, so she's satisfied enough. So yeah, now the club no longer has Amane, which means we're one member short of being an official club again. And next day when we go to school, we see the garage we used for our club got destroyed by a wrecking crew. Yeah, it turns out that asshole of a teacher, Mr. Tobiaka, planned to tear down the building right after Amane graduated, so the school could build student dorms there. Also, Amane left her blueprints behind, so Aoi goes into the rubble and picks it up, because he wants to try and continue the club, and he also wants to try and build the glider that Amane was working on. Aoi is confident though that the soaring club will return though, and he still wants to fly again. And that marks the end of the game. No wait, sorry. I meant to say the end of the chapter. My bad. So from here on out, 1 year passes, and the soaring club is still not an official club anymore due to not having 4 members. The glider they were using is now being held at a dormitory in one of the spare bedrooms, and now Aoi, Katori, and Agaha all got jobs so they can afford parts to fix the glider so they can fly again. And since it's a new school year, the Flying Fish Manor dormitory ends up getting 2 new residents. And wow, what do you know? It's Girl A and Girl B!
It looked like girl!
So yeah, it turns out these girls are named Asa and Yoru, and they're freshmen at Aoi's school. Asa seems like a pretty shy but super kind girl, and Yoru is a little bit of an emotionless jerk.
それはただのおまぬけさんじゃん
So it turns out these two come to the dormitory a day early, and their room isn't prepared at all for them. And yeah, that room where they'll be living in is where we've been hiding the glider. Also, it turns out that Aoi and the gang patented stole it because after the soaring club shut down, the school was going to donate the glider to a museum, but Aoi and the others took it back because they want to fly again sometime soon. Yoru is very mad about the glider being in their room, so Aoi lets the twins borrow his room while they try and move the glider somewhere else. But what about Aoi? Where is he gonna sleep? Well...
じゃあ私の部屋に来ればいいよ一緒に寝よう
Alright, here. Thanks for letting me stay in your room. Or should I say, Our room.
No, for real though, he just sleeps on the couch for a time being. So over the next few days, we get to know more about Asa and Yoru.
そういうのロリコンって言うんでしょ
No, Katori, not like that. Yeah, apparently their grandfather is some type of famous genius, and they're also said to be super smart like him. Also, Asa seems pretty interested in learning more about the glider that we're working on, and she eventually tells everyone how she saw our glider fly, and always wanted to join us in the sky. So she ends up joining the soaring club, and she also brings us to this old storage building owned by her grandpa, and she lets us use it to do our club activities in. Aw, thanks, Asa. Welcome to the club. Wait, is that a typo I see? Oh, hell no! Get the heck out of here! You're banned from our club! Not for real now. Now we have 4 members. But we still need a club advisor. And no other teachers are willing to help us out because they're too scared of Dick Face over here. So now we're in another bad situation. Oh, and also, Yoro keeps being a jerk to everyone that she's kind of jealous for us taking her sister's attention away from her. In fact, one day, she does something really dumb. Okay, well, not that dumb. No, she ends up taking Asa's panties and takes a picture of herself wearing them. And Aoi and the others end up seeing it too. She also called herself a Phantom Thief. Holy crap, this game really is Persona 6! Heck, Katori even mentioned something about bonds with friends. So clearly, this game is Persona 6 in disguise.
No! This must be some sort of trick. What are you, a scam artist?
Alright.
So then the game lets us decide who we want to hang out with again. And this time, Asa is an option. But again, I went with Agaha here. Dang, Katori looks upset with me.
My friend, and you betrayed me!
So Agaha and Aoi go on a nice date to the mall, and even run around like little kids at one point. But easily the best part about this date, or maybe the worst part, is when Agaha starts saying cringy things into my ear.
This is like taking candy from a baby, which is fine by me.
So the next day we find out that Amane is coming into town, and Aoi ends up running into her down by the club's old runway. He invites her over for dinner a few days later, and then the club shows her the storage building they've been using for their club activities. Aoi also introduces the twins to her, and he also asks Amane if she'll be their club's advisor. Thankfully she says yes, but now we're officially a club again. So from this point on in the game, the story will change depending on what girl's route you're trying to do. The route will be assigned to you depending on which character you choose to spend the most time with. And yeah, like I said earlier, I did the Agaha route, because you know, there's no route for Hattie. And during that route, a lot of funny and strange things occurred. Now I don't want to go over too much of what happens in her route, or any of the other routes, because there's a ton of stuff that happens in each route, and it'd be way too hard to go over everything in this video. Besides, it's best to experience each character's route blind. But I will mention some small funny scenes I came across while playing through Agaha's route. And don't worry, these aren't really spoilers. Like, who could forget this scene where Kaneko mentions one of my favorite songs of all time? Oh, stop, I'm gonna get copyright striked! Or this part where it kinda sounds like Hotaru is saying Archer instead of Agaha.
Oh my god.
Or this part where Agaha tells a story about her biting off Aoi's head. I bet he shouted Aoi after that. Then there's all these parts where we see Masa swimming for Akari.
Simple art!
And of course, who could forget the part where the game crashed right after Agaha insults me. Man, she hurt my feelings so much the game turned itself off for me. And yeah, that's all I really have to say about what happens in her route. Now, like I said before, I don't want to go over what happens during every character's route, but there are 5 total routes in the game, 1 for Katori, Agaha, Amane, Asa, and Yoru. But in order to unlock the Amane route, you have to clear the Katori route at least once. And for the Yoru route, you have to clear the Asa route once. There's also a bad ending too, and it can be unlocked by making some bad choices. But is it really a bad ending if you're not trying to be a simp for anyone? I think not. So yeah, that was If My Heart Had Wings. So in the end, I actually really enjoyed the game. The story was very heartwarming, the music was beautiful, and the characters were all really great. Except for Dick Face here, he sucked. Now, it's not a perfect visual novel by any means. I mean, there's plenty of typos scattered throughout the game. And I do wish some characters had more time in the spotlight, like Tatsuya, Masa, or the twins, who I felt like came into the story way too late. But still, I thought it was very enjoyable. And there's also apparently a sequel that I might talk about sometime in the future. But yeah, If My Heart Had Wings was a fantastic game. Seriously though, if they put a Hattie route in the game, it'd be instantly way better.
So yeah, that was If My Heart Had Wings, and yeah, overall, it was a fantastic visual novel that I definitely recommend to anyone interested. It's too bad my dreams of flying will most likely never come true. I mean, I could go out and get my pilot's license like Aoi, but that's a lot of work. Now that I think about it, was flying my actual dream all along, or was it to permanently change Valentine's Day into Sonic the Hedgehog movie day? I don't know, I have a new dream every week.